Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Nashtabhyeshavadesho nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtikim. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 2nd chapter, text number 11. Repeat after me. Vishnur Dvijam Kriya Mula Yagya Dharmamaya Puman Devarshi Pitri Bhutanam Dharmasya Cha Parayanam Vishnu Dvija Kriyamolo Yagya Dharma Maya Puman Devarshi Pitri Bhutanam Dharmasya Cha Parayanam Vishnu Dvija Kriyamolo Yagya Dharma Maya Puman Devarshi Pitri Bhutanam Dharmasya Cha Parayanam Vishnu Dvija Kriyamolo Yagya Dharma Maya Puman Devarshi Pitri Bhutanam Dharmasya Cha Parayanam Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dvija, of the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, Kriyamula, whose root is the performance of yagya and the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas. Yagya, personified yagya. Lord Vishnu, who is known as Yagya Purush, Dharmamaya, full of religious principles. Puman, the Supreme Person. Devarishi, of the demigods and great rishis, like Vyasadeva and Narad. Pitri, of the forefathers. Bhutana, and of all other living entities. Dharmasya, of the religious principles. Sisi Gonitai, Sisi Krishnaram, Sisi Radha, Shama Sundar ki. Cha, also, Parayanam, the shelter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. The basic principle of Brahminical culture is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the personification of sacrificial and ritualistic ceremonies. Lord Vishnu is the personified reservoir of all religious principles. And he is the shelter of the demigods, the great Pitas, and the people in general. When the Brahmanas are killed, no one will exist to encourage the Kshatriyas to perform yagyas. And thus the demigods, not being appeased by yagya, will automatically die. Purport. Since Vishnu is the central point of Brahminical culture, Hiranyakashipu's plan was to kill Vishnu. For if Vishnu were killed, naturally the Brahminical culture would also be lost. With Brahminical culture lost, yagya would no longer be performed, and for want of yagya, the regular distribution of rainfall would cease. Yagyat bhavati parjanya. Thus there would be disturbances all over the world. And naturally the demigods would be defeated. From this verse we get a clear indication of how human society is distributed when the Vedic Aryan civilization is killed and the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies performed by the Brahmanas are stopped. Kaula Shudra Sambhavaha. Because the population of the modern world consists mostly of Shudras, the Brahminical culture is now lost and is extremely difficult to reestablish in a proper way. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has recommended the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, which will revive Brahminical culture very easily. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam, kola nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatyaranyata. Because of the increment in demoniac population, people have lost Brahminical culture, nor is there a Kshatriya government. Instead, the government is a democracy in which any Shudra can be voted into taking up the governmental reins and capture the power to rule. Because of the poisonous effects of Kali Yuga, the Shastra says, Dassu prayeshu rajasu, the government will adopt the policies of dashus, of plunderers. Thus there will be no instructions from the Brahmanas, and even if there are Brahminical instructions, there will be no Kshatriya rulers who can follow them. Aside from Satya Yuga, even formerly, in the days when demons were flourishing, Hiranyakashipu planned to destroy the Brahminical culture and the Kshatriya government and thus create chaos all over the world. Although in Satya Yuga this plan was very difficult to execute, in Kali Yuga, which is full of Shudras and demons, the Brahminical culture is lost and can be revived only by the chanting of the Mahamantra. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement or the Hare Krishna movement has been inaugurated to revive Brahminical culture very easily so that people may become happy and peaceful in this life and prepare for elevation in the next. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya quotes this verse from the Brahmananda Purana. Viprayagyadi mulam tu hari rityasuram matam harir evahi sarvasya mulam samyam matom nripa. O king, the demons think that Hari, Lord Vishnu, exists because of the Brahmanas and Yagya, but factually Hari is the cause of everything, including the Brahmanas and Yagyas. Therefore, through the popularization of Hari Kirtan or the Sankirtan movement, the Brahminical culture and Kshatriya government will automatically come back. and people will be extremely happy. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yaram Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sahabadantigam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yata Padakamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajibam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishagan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tabda Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bihevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Vishnu Dvijakriyamulo Yagya Dharma Mamyapaman Devasi Pritibhutanam Dharmasya Chaparayanam. The basic principle of Brahminical culture is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the personification of sacrificial and ritualistic ceremonies. Lord Vishnu is the personified reservoir of all religious principles and is the shelter of all the demigods, the great Pitas and the people in general. When the Brahmanas are killed, no one will exist to encourage the Kshatriyas to perform yagyas, and thus the demigods, not being appeased by yagya, will automatically die. So here, Hiranyakashipu is speaking to his relatives after his brother Hiranyaksha was killed, and so he wanted to take revenge and kill Lord Vishnu, which of course is not possible. Of course, we also know that Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, they are not just ordinary demons. But they were actually gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay in Vaikuntha. And it is explained because the Supreme Lord wanted to have a good fight, and who is able to fight with the Lord in this material world? Give a good fight, except those who are his devotees. Even as we know in the spiritual world, so Krishna is in Golok Vrindavan, is also sometimes, of course, some kind of not fighting is there, but wrestling is there. He likes to wrestle also. He likes to have fun. And so therefore he's sometimes wrestling with the cowboys. And they're having some, in play. So similarly, even in this material world actually, as Prabhupada has explained, as we understand, this material world is created by the will of the Lord. And it is one of his leelas also, creation of this material world. Krishna is Adbhut, is wonderful, and Adbhut leela, wonderful leelas. In the spiritual world, in Golok, the most wonderful leelas are there in Golok Vrindavan. But then Krishna has expanded himself in so many forms, unlimited forms in Vaikuntha, and is performing his pastimes there. And then he's creating this material world also, which is his lila also. And then, so in this material world, some living entities are coming. As explained by the Acharyas and Prabhupada, two kinds of living entities, Nitya Mukta, Nitya Badha. And Prabhupada has explained in some of these purports. So Nitya Mukta means they are eternally liberated, always there serving Krishna. And but then the Nitya Baddha, Anadi Baddha, since time immemorial they are conditioned, but they are also eternal sons of Krishna, but in the conditioned state. So they may fall to this material world when this material world is created. And then Krishna himself is coming once in the day of Lord Brahma, who is the secondary creator, being inspired by Krishna himself to perform this work or this seva of creation and of this material world. And then Krishna in the form of Vishnu himself is maintaining, and then Lord Shiva, under the inspiration of the Supreme Lord, is destroying these worlds. So at that time, the Baddha Jiva, they are coming to this world, some of them, they come to this world. But then Krishna is trying himself, or through his incarnations, and especially in the Kali Yuga, through Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is trying to liberate the fallen conditioned souls, the Nitya Baddha. Or he sends also his eternal associates, the Nitya Muktas, to help, who are then coming also in the form of his representatives, to help the conditioned souls to become liberated. So similarly here it is explained by Prabhupada also and by the Acharyas that Jai and Vijay are not just ordinary persons, but they are, so the associates of the Lord in Vaikuntha, the doorkeepers, and by the Lord's will they came here for 3 births to fight with the Lord, to give a good fight to the Lord. Therefore we can see so that they are actually having quite some knowledge of the Supreme Lord, understanding, but still because they are there in the form of demons to give a good fight to the Lord, they have some misconceptions. They have no complete knowledge, they have some knowledge. So some understanding that Lord Vishnu is there, he is the personification of the sacrificial and ritualistic ceremonies. That is correct, therefore is known as Yagya Purush. So it's the personification, Yagya Vai Vishnu, of the Yagya, Agni Dev. And of course different Agnis are there, according to different Yagyas also, and they are done the expansions of Lord Vishnu, or the representatives of Lord Vishnu. Like even the demigods, so they are representatives of the Lord. And if sometimes there's no jiva, living entity, to take the position of Lord Brahma, who is the most qualified, then Lord Vishnu himself is taking the position of that. And even sometimes there's no person to take the position of Indra, then even sometimes an expanded form of the Supreme Lord is taking that position to manage the affairs of this material world. So this is all Adabhut Lila of the Supreme Lord. So Hiranyakashipu here is mentioning, so acknowledging to some extent the position of the Lord, but the misconception is there that he wants to kill Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. And he wants to kill practically in this way the demigods. So that was his plan. So which to the demons, so it seemed to be quite logical and to make sense to the demons, but actually it is nonsense. And it is not possible, first of all, to kill Vishnu, and second of all, of course, sometimes the demons are able to kill some of the demigods, but not all of them, because they are representatives of the Supreme Lord and they are protected by the Supreme Lord. Because they are trying their best to serve the Supreme Lord, although sometimes their material desires and sometimes they're independent, sometimes they do mistakes, because they are not always pure devotees. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Indra also, Bhagavan Indra, He's a demigod, but sometimes he has material desires, as it is explained in the Bhagavatam, but still is to be respected because he's trying to serve the Lord. But sometimes he's becoming proud and forgetting his position and forgetting the position of the Supreme Lord. But the demons, so they are completely against the Supreme Lord, they're against the demigods, and they're against the persons who are worshipping the Supreme Lord or even the demigods. And because Hiranyakashipu's brother was killed, so therefore he wanted to kill Vishnu, he wanted to kill the demigods. And here specifically in this case, so the plan was Dvija Kriya Mulo, so that the Dvija, as explained here, the Kriya Mula, the root of their activities, which are performing sacrifice and of course studying the Vedas and teaching that by the Brahmanas. So they should, he was telling them his man to destroy the performance of sacrificial fire and the Brahmanas, and then automatically, so here also significant, Prabhupada is explaining, Dvija means the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, although mostly Dvija, so of course to the Brahmanas, but here especially it is mentioned, and generally it is understood that Dvija means those who are getting the Janeo, the second initiation, the Gayatri mantra, by which they can worship the Supreme Lord, the deities, and by which they can perform yagyas. Although generally the Brahmanas are worshipping the deities and are performing yagyas, but the Kshatriyas, they're getting also the Gayatri mantra, and then being initiated, they should also worship the deities. Although many times they are so engaged in ruling the kingdom and fighting against the enemies that they don't have much time to perform this activity of worshipping the deities. But of course, some who were very intelligent, like Ambarish Maharaj, although he was the emperor, he was the king of the kings. And so he himself was worshipping the deities also. Although he was the emperor, every day he was worshipping the deities. One deity was there of the Lord, and the very nice pastime, it is mentioned actually in one of the Puranas, that how he was worshipping the Supreme Lord. And I really like this pastime, which is mentioned there. And so he was worshipping the Lord, and so there it is mentioned that actually he had a few wives, as many times the Kshatriyas had. He had 20 wives. And each of them had a palace, and then there was one a woman who wanted to get married to him. But then he said, well, I'm too busy, I don't have the time. Already I have many wives, and I'm the emperor, and I'm worshipping the Lord, I won't have time. But because she was a devotee, and she saw that he's a wonderful king, emperor, and a wonderful devotee also, so she told him, I don't mind if you don't give me so much time, but you're a devotee, that's why I want to get married to you. And I don't see anybody else I can marry who is a devotee and who is having these wonderful qualities and who is a good kshatriya. So then finally he agreed. And then after the marriage, so she, when she had the opportunity to speak to him, which was not so often because he was busy as emperor and worshipping the deities every day. So then she asked him that, please, can I do some Thakurji seva? Every day you're doing Thakurji seva. Can I please also help you in doing Thakurji seva? And then he was saying, no, it is my seva. I would like to do that every day. You just stay in your house and in your palace and take care of the things in the palace. So of course nowadays the pujaris, they want one assistant, two assistant for cleaning the things, and they just want to do the puja, just want to dress the deities. Of course if you're old, even myself, I'm mainly just dressing the deities. But in the beginning, arranging everything. So, but he was doing everything. He was cleaning, of course it was a small temple, he was cleaning the temple. He was cleaning and arranging the paraphernalia. He was picking the flowers, the tulsi leaves, getting water for the nearby river, doing everything. Cutting the fruit, offering the fruit, and worshipping the Lord. So that is a real Dvija, even though he may be a king, a kshatriya, an administrator, and ultimately everyone should worship the deities. So if not having personal deities, at least coming to the temple and even of course attending the program, morning program, that is a kind of seva, but still if you can do a little more, it is beneficial. It is very important to worship the deities. So this wife, of course, she saw that is not ready to give, so she just came there in the morning, and the queen and newlywed, and she started cleaning the temple when he was going to take the water and pick some flowers. And then she quickly disappeared. And he noticed somebody cleaned the temple anyway, didn't think much, and it was going for some time. And then she started picking flowers also, and putting there, and then he thought, well, this is too much, it is my seva. And then he, instead of going to the river to get the water, he was just hiding around the corner, there in some bush, and then she came and cleaned, and then he saw. So, and then he told her, why are you taking my seva? Why are you doing this? And then she said, well, I heard we should all worship the deities, and I like to worship the deities also. And I know it is your seva, please, but please give me some seva. But he was very strict, no. But I will do one thing. I will make a small temple in your palace, because all the queens had their palace. And then you can worship your own deity, which he did. So, so then she was worshipping, and she was worshipping in such a good way that his deity came to him in a dream and told him that you should see how the last queen you married is worshipping the deity. It is very nice. And then he was going to her and seeing her regularly. And so then by her influence and all the other, so the queens, they saw, while the king is going to see her, and then they all complained to the king about this newly wed queen, and how come you're going to see her regularly? And then he said, because she's worshipping the deities. And they all wanted to also have these deities, and hoping that he will also come and see them. And so then he had also a temple full of the queens. So very nice pastime. So just by the influence of one good wife. So yeah, but anyway, back to the purport here. So that is actually, of course, that was in previous yugas, as Prabhupada has explained in Satya Yuga. So the Brahmanas, they were, of course, it is mentioned, even everyone was spiritually inclined in the Satya Yuga. They were all like swan-like men, Hansa. And as we know, the swan, so if you have water in the milk, which is quite common in India, they mix some water in the milk, and then so it's difficult to detect, and then of course you can boil it down, and then the milk may evaporate, but then some of the milk so maybe lost too. But the swan, so he has the ability to separate So he will drink the milk and then the water will be left there. So the persons who are spiritually inclined, although living in material world, they can extract the essence, or they can be, in other words, spiritually situated on the transcendental platform, free from the modes of material nature. So they see the essence everywhere. They're not becoming affected by this material world. So therefore the demons are not able to flourish there so much. Only very rarely some demons are manifested there. But then in Treta Yuga more, Dwapara Yuga more, and then Kali Yuga more, even more. So therefore Prabhupada is explaining that it is very difficult in Kali Yuga to be following this Vedic system, but then he's saying there's only one way, as explained in the scriptures, and as he's quoted the verse, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. So that chanting the holy names, the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So chanting the holy names, that is the only way to again have the Brahmanical culture or the Vedic culture or the Vaishnava culture. And Prabhupada is explaining, so it is, if one is very sincerely following that, then it can be very easily established, so this Brahmanical culture. So at least to some extent, so of course Prabhupada's words are right, but the thing is, his blessings are there, the blessings of the Lord are there. What to say, but practically speaking, we can see in our life that even in our society sometimes you can see that, so those who are actually really, truly Brahmanas and Brahmanically inclined are actually not so many. What to say, but it is actually the fact. And but still everyone is trying their best and trying to be properly situated as Brahmanas. As explained, the qualities of the Brahmanas are mentioned. So we should all take this to heart and try to please Prabhupada and become good Vaishnavas. A Vaishnava means he's automatically a Brahmana. He's peaceful, he's tolerant, he's respectful, he's self-controlled, he's inclined to always chant the holy names and study the scriptures, and he's merciful. Whatever he has learned, he gives to others, the knowledge. So we should try to become Vaishnavas. One time Prabhupada, of course, he said also that in these terms, because it may not be so easily, but Prabhupada is explaining, and it is true also, if one is serious, then easily it can be performed, and we can nicely advance, but at the same time, sometimes some difficulties are there, the modes of material nature are there, and then some difficulties may be there, and therefore Prabhupada also mentioned a few times that first, you try to become a gentleman, and then you can try to become a devotee. So we should try to become perfect gentlemen in our dealings amongst each other, and even with other people also. So that is very important. So we should try to be gentlemen. So gentleman, what does he mean? To be gentle, to be a nice person. And then we should try to remember Krishna always. And that is not so easy, to remember Shyama Sundar. If we analyze the day, how much we remember Krishna. But we try our best, and so even if we cannot remember Krishna, as Prabhupada has explained, that in several places, and even there in the Bhagavad-Gita, in the purport, Ante Kale Narayani Smriti, or Ante Kale Chamameva, what should we do at the time of that? Remember the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada is explaining, if we cannot do remember Him all the time, what we should do? We should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In the beginning stage of chanting Hare Krishna, we may not see Krishna. But the advanced devotees is chanting Hare Krishna. He will see Krishna. He will see Krishna's associates. He will see Krishna's pastimes. And that is a real chanting. That is chanting of Shuddhanam. So we should try to gradually come to a higher stage of chanting the holy names. So beginning first with giving offenses while chanting, and even while we are not chanting, we have to avoid all kinds of offenses. Sevara parad, Dhamma parad, Vaishnava parad. Then we can come to the platform of Abhasnam. Then we may be able to have some realizations and get nam ruchi, taste for chanting the names. And then sometimes we may remember Krishna while chanting, and Krishna's associates, and Krishna's pastimes. And when we are on this platform, then we can properly serve the deities. We can properly do our seva. We can properly have a loving exchange with all the devotees. So therefore we should be try very much to be gentle man or gentle woman, good devotees by following Prabhupada's instructions and being always engaged in devotional activities, especially by chanting the holy names. And then also, of course, it is very important to regularly hear the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-Gita, and besides that, even on a daily basis, as Prabhupada said, we should try to read his books, try to read the Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so we can remember Krishna, so that while we chant, we can also remember Krishna or Mahaprabhu, so that we can advance and slowly come to a higher stage, and so we can become a pure devotee, and then it will be easier to establish this Brahminical culture in our society, and then eventually, through Vana Ashram, in this material world, as Prabhupada wanted to establish Vana Ashram in our society, and then it should be in the whole world, and we want ultimately to make the whole world Krishna conscious, which is not so easy. But Prabhupada one time said, if I had a few good men, I could make the whole world Krishna conscious in 18 days. But since Prabhupada even left, even Prabhupada's time, and after Prabhupada 18 years passed, and well, how much are we Krishna conscious? How much are we able to establish Vana Ashram in our society and Brahminical culture? So we're trying our best, and what to speak in the material world. But we humbly try our best and pray to Prabhupada, to Mahaprabhu, to give us the intelligence, to give us the strength, so we can do a little bit of seva for the pleasure of Prabhupada and Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Any questions or any comments? Everything is very clear, yes. Or Prabhuji has maybe a question or comment.
My question would be, what would be the first step in establishing Vana Ashram within our society? Because we say brahmachari, we have to stand on the first step, and yes, but we never use the terms Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya,
and Brahmana. Yes.
And applies to ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
What's your opinion on the first step?
Yeah, that is a...
Everyone's half a genie.
Yeah, yes.
We don't use the Varna.
Yes, not so much. Yes, that is true. Yes. That is true, very true. And So it is true that brahmacharis are recognized, and then grihastas are recognized. Vanaprasthas, there are not so many. Sannyasis are there, also not so many, but even maybe even more than vanaprasthas. And so that is quite recognized in our society, which is good. At least one ashram is there. So the ashrams are there, well established. So Prabhupada also said half of the work is done. Even in this sense, half of the work is done. Vana ashram. The ashrams are quite well established. Brahmacharis are there, grihastas, and some vanaprasthas, some sannyasis. So that is already taken care of nicely. Now about the varna, that is true. That is not so clear. That is, and also not so much emphasis is given in that. Basically the mood is many times is there. We all the eternal service of Krishna, and we simply have to serve Krishna, which is all right. That is all right. But at the same time, it is true that we need those who are intelligent, those who are brahmanas, those who are studying the scriptures and who are teaching. That is absolutely required, and who may be able to guide. It is accepted also in our society. Even from the GBC, it is the kind of Brahminical, they have a kind of department was supposed to be there. To a little extent it is there, but not much. And which I agree fully, it should be there more. And then even amongst, let's say, the individual temples, so if there are some, of course, then the spiritual masters are there, and they are sannyasis, and they may be then the natural leaders there mostly, and then they're doing the work of the brahmanas actually, many times the sannyasis. And but even if we have, of course now we have some institutions also, like the VHE and MIHE, and so to some extent they are also trying to promote this study of the scriptures and teaching. So in this sense, so the Brahminical department is trying to be established. They're trying to establish that in our society, and that is recognized. And even then in the temple, so then that is maybe not so much there now in most of the temples. They have the president, and usually the president is the ruler. He may have some, some helpers there, and he may take some advice from other devotees, but many times, maybe it's Devarshi, then it is okay. But if it's not, then maybe, it is, but it is a good point. It is good to have the brahmanas, and he should take actually the advice that it's a Vedic system, that the brahmanas, they used to always have ministers and brahmanas to guide them, to give them some advice. That is actually very helpful. Even here in our temple, we had many years ago, we had actually the managerial department, like we have VMC now, Vrindavan Management Committee. Of course, president is the chairman, and then the others are there to somehow help him to some extent. But even previously here, I remember, and then there was also a Brahminical kind of department besides the management, and they would sometimes meet. And even I was invited to some of them, but then somehow, for some reasons it didn't last long. What to do? But it's good, even like the king, definitely he had the ministers, there was like the helpers helping with management, and then he had some brahmanas, and not only one brahmana. And then usually they had a few brahmanas, and usually uneven numbers, 3 or 5 or 7 or 9 or 11. For the reason, because then sometimes they had to take some decisions. And at that time, then if you have 4, then maybe it's 2 and 2. Or you have 6, it's 3 and 3. Then there's no decision. But if there are 5, then 2 or 3. Then a decision can be taken. Because many times, even amongst the brahmanas, there may be even different of opinion. which is quite common nowadays. We can see amongst the devotees also, they have different opinions how to do the things. So it is good to have that actually, especially the big temples like Vrindavan or Mayapur, or maybe in America, Lachua. It would be, I think it would be good to have that. And that would be then also a good example for the society, to have really qualified brahmanas who are just doing the Brahminical activities. So that would be good. But that is true, it is not yet so much, it is not really established yet in our society. But brahmanas are there and some education is there, but it is not fully established in the big, it is true, in the big communities which we have. And then the kshatriyas, of course, that is, the administrators are there, and they are quite strong, usually. And we have seen in many places, usually, mostly, the president, that means he's doing the role of a kshatriya, and mostly they are strong. It is my way or no way, which is many times actually needed. It is needed, because if that is not there, then what is happening? Others who are like, who have like Vaishyam tendency or Shudras, they will take the upper hand and they will create difficulties. And then the things cannot function nicely in the temple. And we have seen that also. So the president must be strong and he must be in the mood, I am the president, that is healthy, but he should have advisors also and take the advice of those who are Brahminically inclined. And the Vaishyas, in our society, by the arrangement of the Lord, one ashram is already, even in our society, it is being established. Even the Vaishyas, there are plenty of devotees are doing the activity of a Vaishnava, they are doing business. We are not addressing them as Vaishyas because many times, it doesn't sound like nice for many, and they don't want to be addressed in this way. I'm a Vaishya, I'm a Shudra. Everyone wants to be big. Everyone wants to be a Brahmana or recognized as a big devotee. Many times it is the tendency of the conditioned soul. So therefore it is not said out openly, but you can see clearly the many who are just like Shudras. But we don't call them Shudra because they may not like it, because sometimes they don't have the proper understanding amongst many, because as Mahaprabhu said, we are not Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or we are not Grihastha, but we are eternal servants of Krishna, who is the beloved of the gopis. Gopi bhattu pargamo das dasana dasaha. But in order for society to work nicely, Vana ashram must be there in our society and in the whole world. It is absolutely necessary. So maybe the Varnas are not so yet recognized, and so for various reasons, but it should be done. And first the Brahmanas have to be there also and recognized. And then that should be there. Yes, that is the first thing. If the Brahmanas are not there, Prabhupada is explaining the purport. If the Brahmanas are not there, then the Kshatriyas are not guided properly. And they're not able to do their duty properly. Prabhupada has explained the purport. So first the Brahmanas have to be there, qualified Brahmanas. And then under the guidance, the Kshatriyas, they will be able to do their duty nicely, and then everything will be proper. Then the Vaishyas are also properly helped in their spiritual life, and they are protected, and then they can do their duty properly, and the Shudras also, and then everyone is happy. So first the Brahmanical culture has to be established. That is true. Therefore Prabhupada said, I created this society in order to create Brahmanas. That is there. Yes, that was Prabhupada's desire, because ultimately, so the ISKCON society should be there to teach the whole world. Yes. So we are a little bit behind in the Varnas, so especially it is not so much, recognized, but we hope that eventually, and I think eventually it will be done, because in many places now they are trying to have some communities in which they want to have this kind of setup. And for example, then even practically speaking, you should have some quarters for the Brahmanas where they will live. Like even you can see in some place in South India where the Brahmanical culture was very strong. Even now it is. I mean, one time I was in Sri Rangam, and around the temples, who are living there? The Brahmanas are living there, around the temple, because they have to do the seva. They're there, and then they are teaching the others, and people are coming to them. And then some other part, then the Kshatriyas there, the Vaishyas, and this way it is established. So, but eventually it will also happen in our society, I'm confident, because more and more the need is felt that in our society we should have, and Prabhupada said we should have these communities, self-sufficient community. And there you need the Brahmanas, you need the administrators, you need those who are doing business, and you need those who are doing the simple work. So it will be done, and we just have to be patient. Hopefully in our lifetime. So don't worry, but I'm recognizing you as a true Brahmana. No, you're a very wonderful devotee, you learned, and you're a good speaker, so I'm recognizing you, okay? And if you have a department, you should be the head of the Brahmanical department. Hare Krishna, okay? Is that okay? Hare Krishna.
That wasn't my intention.
No, I know, but it's a good point, that's why. So we should stop here, it is 9:15. If anyone has any more questions, they can ask me. Everyone can take some prasad. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sisi Gaunitai ki, Krishna Balaram ki, Radha Shama Sundar ki, Go Premanande.